I knew that Wingtips was, well, I went to see this band called Twin Tribes and Wingtips playing, and I was selling tickets for it too. So not only did I just see them, I was helping to promote the show. And I did not realize that, one, they were even from Illinois, because I don't do my homework, but I had heard of Wingtips and knew them because they're one of the new goth bands out there, new goth bands out there. And then it wasn't until after the show ended that a friend of mine had sent a message saying, hey, there's this band from Carbondale playing in Austin. Maybe you should go see them. And by the way, they said they were from Chicago on stage.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
Sorry.
Ouch.
Typical.
People know
Love
where
you,
Chicago
Wingtips, but you should have mentioned Carbondale. Sorry.
Damn.
I would have been the only person in the audience cheering, but still.
I didn't think this podcast was going to have the kind of teeth that it has to start off with.
No, they were really good. They were very good. I still like you guys if you're watching this. And
so you're like here and now is like a major like flow through point of the goth scene. Austin-wide.
In Austin, yes. I am definitely one of the movers and shakers in Austin as far as the goth. Somewhat punk, but especially in the goth scene.
Yeah.
I am, yes, and I have a store called Secret October, and if you're ever anybody in Austin, come by, say hi to me. But we are the premier place to get all of your plaid bondage pants and fishnet shirts and band t-shirts and patches and pins and stickers. And I also know everything going on in town too. I can list every single show happening, and I can tell you all the other cool shops to go to and other things to do in Austin, but
you could have done that in Carbondale.
I did do that.
Yeah, you're like, that was my thing.
In fact, I used to work at a shop in Carbondale, and I started selling punk rock shirts and goth shirts there. It was a head shop, but can I say that?
Yeah,
I don't know. We couldn't say that back then.
No, well, now cannabis is legal in Illinois.
Cannabis is legal in Illinois.
Carbondale is completely reshaping the whole sector of its economy around cannabis.
Because I used to work at Merlin's, and then that merged into Main Street Records, which wasn't really a record store.
Yeah.
And it was a head shop, and then I started ordering band T-shirts for the shop and studded collars and things like that.
Were you still here like at the time whenever like all the like heavy-handed like shut the head shops down activity went on?
It was a little bit of that.
Okay.
And I think right when I left, they all got shut down.
Yeah.
So
it's because you left.
Yes, because I left. That was no.
Well, we're not going to shut this podcast down. We're going to open it right up, episode 93 of the WTF Carbondale podcast, where we talk to interesting people about their interesting lives and tie it all back to this little old place we call home, Carbondale, Illinois, and an interesting person who has lived an interesting life, connected to an interesting place. Cassandra Davis, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No, so it was like, is that kind of where early days kind of working in retail, is that just been a natural transition into the work that you do now?
Yes, and I think it's because when I was in high school, I took a trip to Chicago and I said, I want a pair of bat earrings.
Uh-huh.
So I went to the Alley, and the Alley is, well, I'm not sure if they're even still around. I think they're slightly still around. But they were one of the biggest goth punk stores in the country, I believe. And so that really influenced me. And then my friend's mother owned a little head shop here called Merlin's, and got me the job there. And I've always been interested in retail. And so I learned a lot from that. And then as Main Street Records, definitely, because I started carrying, we were selling lip service skinny jeans and studded collars and crazy colored hair dye and things like that, and band T-shirts and patches and stickers. So that taught me a lot about retail. In fact, some of the vendors that we used to order from, I still order from in my store to this day.
Like decades long relationships.
Yes, that I got in Carbondale. So,
God,
my livelihood now is based on things that I learned back in Carbondale.
Have people done any like media pieces on you? Like, have you had like, maybe not a Rolling Stone,
there was
but
a zine from Chicago that wrote about Lost Cross when I was living there, but
other than that, that's a shame.
Oh,
right?
was it Kerrang magazine mentioned my shop this year.
That's cool.
They did a little thing. They were talking about the vampire scene in Austin, so yeah.
What is the vampire scene in Austin?
It goes up and down. It's in waves, but
Depending
there is
on the
a scene.
sunlight, no.
Yes, there is a scene. I'm friends of that scene, but that's not my thing. It's like South Park. There's the goths and the vampires. So
you watch
nothing against the vampires.
Do you watch Letterkenny at all? Is that a
no?
show
I need to watch it. I need to watch it. I know.
With the goths in it, there will be some good connections.
Oh, good. Then I definitely need to watch it.
Did you have exposure to this lifestyle before coming to Carbondale? Were you super young when you first moved to the area, like DuQuoin?
Okay, so I was born in Chicago and lived there until I was 13.
Okay,
and at that point I was heavily into New Wave. This was early 80s, remember? So it was all called New Wave back then. And then the New Wave started morphing into goth right around that age.
Yeah.
And like my older friends were all going to Medusa's in Chicago. And then my dad got sick. And so what do you do when you're sick and you're dying? You go back home.
Yeah.
And he grew up in DuQuoin. So I moved to DuQuoin. And that was a culture shock. They hated me there. I did not fit in there. No one understood me. Yeah. I didn't understand them and their Bon Jovi culture. And all of that. It was all hair metal, and I was like listening to The Cure and Skinny Puppy and all these, and Sisters of Mercy and things like that, and I was very misunderstood, and it was a very rough time, especially as a teenager, to go into an environment like that, a small town from the big city, when you're into all this weird stuff. So of course it's DuQuoin, so the next best thing after that is Carbondale, because it's only not 30 miles. I don't even know. I have no concept of space.
I mean,
whatever. It's not too far.
25-minute-ish drive. Yeah.
So it's not a very long drive to come here. So as soon as I learned to drive, I would start to come to Carbondale. Of course, I'd hit up all the record stores. I was just buying tons and tons of music here, and thankfully, I'm a big music fan. Yeah, that's my life. So thankfully, Carbondale being a college town, kids from Chicago would come bring their cool record collections, and then they'd need drug and alcohol money, so they'd sell all their cool stuff. So I would get all their used stuff really cheap, and so my record collection was insane back then. And so I loved Carbondale for that. And then actually the first person in Carbondale I met was a person named Jack Chansey, and I hope he watches this and listens to it, because he was my first Carbondale friend, and I met him at the mall, and he was wearing a Depeche Mode shirt, and so we started talking about music, and he introduced me to the first few people that I got to know in Carbondale. And then later on, I got a job at a little record store that is called Rocksteady, which is where Melange Coffee was. I have no idea what's there now.
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh, that's sad. Well,
I want, legitimately, as we're talking here, in my mindset, I want to pick your brain so much at a point in time when you're not trying to go out and party and enjoy the weekend.
Right.
Just about what things can be done to revitalize a little chunk of land that is the Strip, right? Because there's so much potential here that a person like yourself understands how to tap into, that fresh new business owners that are in just do this. So that's an offline conversation.
Someday when I'm tired of having my store in Austin, I am saying keep saying that someday I'm going to come back to Carbondale, even if it's for half a year at a time.
I'll give you a reason to do it.
And if so, maybe I'll help
to
revitalize the business industry here,
Cool.
because now I know what to do, and now I'm good at it. And if I could do it in Austin, I could definitely make a business work here, I feel like.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
And so, yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
The heavy question that I've got here is about how music and friends that would ultimately become the scene helped you to navigate through the difficult part of your dad's illness.
Yeah, well, my dad eventually died when I was 15, and then, to make matters worse, 6 months, it's the 6-month rule that I call it with older couples. My mother got cancer within 6 months of him dying, and then she died a few years later.
Wow.
So, and I do think that had a big effect on me, because when most people in their college years had their parents to rely on, I had no one.
Yeah.
I was complete orphan at that point. And so I think because I didn't have that family backup, I used friends here and used the scene here as my family.
Yeah.
And I think that may be why I put so much into it, because I've thought about this for years. I did not think this at the time. I had no idea. But thinking back, I think I was using the scene as a family replacement. And that's probably why I was so hardcore into helping it out. And the scene helped me. It got me through those hard years. And so... yeah, and now I do think of it as my family, and even though I moved far, far away from here, I still come back here once every year, no more than once every 2 years, but most years since I've left it, I've been back here at least about once a year on average to visit with everybody, and I still have these long-lasting connections with people that I feel like are my family, even though we're not blood relatives. So
you don't have to be blood to have.
No, you do not. In fact, it's sometimes better when it's not blood.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, so I can never get Carbondale out of my system because of this. So yeah, and also because I'm so into music, I immediately tapped into the music scene here and just decided, hey, I want to help out. And even though I was never a great musician, I never wanted to practice. I've been in a couple bands, but I'm not good enough. That's why I'm not playing at the Lost Cross reunions, because in fact I get
they're not going to let you DJ between sets? No.
I will DJ. I will gladly DJ, but playing in a band, I get nightmares about being asked to play in a band now, because it's been so many years since I played, I've forgotten what I was doing, and I never practiced when I was younger. It was just a fun thing to do. So but I like being part of the scene and helping out, and probably everything that you could possibly do in the 90s with the music scene, I probably did at one point.
Yeah.
And I helped out at Soundcore Music. I did everything. I helped people book shows. I did book some shows at various venues. And then having the parties and everything. So I've always done things around the scene. I used to go to the nightlife every single week and list every single show happening and hand it to Chris Wisman and say, so for most of the 90s, all of their show listings were things that I wrote and said, here, do this and post this, and he did. And I think it helped him out, and
absolutely
I would hang up, make posters. I made a lot of flyers for a lot of shows. I hung up flyers everywhere. I don't know. I just always like to help out, and so.
You got the true DIY hustle.
I did. I had the true DIY hustle. That is true. I made stickers for bands. I did all sorts of things. Yeah.
Have you always been a creative too?
Yeah. I went to art school, so
Well, and what you did then is still what you're doing now. Like it's not like
it kind of is. I'm still doing that. I still promote shows in Austin.
Yeah.
I sell tickets for a lot of the goth shows at the goth bar there, and I definitely still help out with the scene. So no, I even thought about that a couple years ago. It's like, wow, My life has not changed much. I'm still working retail, except that it's my retail.
Yeah, you just scaled up.
I scaled up.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'm not working for someone else, but I'm still kind of doing the same type of thing.
What was it you? Okay, so and forgive me because I
Yes.
don't remember the specific reference, but you were talking about stuff that you have. Like that you've like initiated in Austin, like that you're like the origin story or like the origin component. What was it? Was it a particular music scene? Was it a particular music event? I don't remember what you were describing.
Oh, in Austin?
Yeah.
I was talking about the event called Convergence, and it is in a goth festival that travels around from city to city everywhere. And I think it started in Chicago. It did start in Chicago in the very late 90s. And it was kind of dying out, and there was always talk about having it in Austin, but it was getting to the point where it was almost gone.
Yeah.
And then my dear friend, Lucy Ramon from Wisconsin, she passed away recently, but she and I and a few others, including my partner at work, Mary, and Alex J from Chicago. Sorry, I had to name some names. We all got together and we kind of resurrected this festival from the dead almost. I mean, it was down to almost nothing, and it was not going to happen again probably. And we made it happen and turned it into a giant fest. I think, what did we have, like 36 bands or something play one weekend or something, and from all over, and at multiple venues. And so, and now it's a big event again, and it's still, although last year, of course, it kind of slowed down, but for a while it was gaining momentum and traveling around to different cities. And I'm sure once things get back to normal, it'll probably pop back up again. And I'm very good at resurrecting things from the ashes. So,
and we will get to that through one more, and I'll get to my last like the here and now question, but like the experience of like being in Austin as Austin has become the new Austin. Yeah. Like what's that kind of experience?
Austin's a weird place now because when I got there,
a different kind of weird than what they advertised.
Well,
20
when
years
I first
ago.
moved there, people were like, "It's not the same," but it was still really cool. And at the time, I went there, and especially coming from Carbondale, nothing against Carbondale, but it was the big city and like so much exciting stuff, and so it really did have a scene. But it is kind of getting overrun with yuppies and hipsters. And anybody who has been to Austin, will tell you that it's overrun with yuppies and hipsters. And so, although I do really love Austin.
Hey, and I can throw stones from a distance. I ain't got no problem calling a bunch of Austin yuppies and Austin.
It's true. But it really is the live music capital of the world. Yeah. And every band that anybody wants to see plays in Austin. And it is the place for shows. So it's losing some of its weird character because it's all shiny yuppie condos everywhere now. Yeah. But there are little pockets of cool, like my shop, and there's a few other cool places. Yeah. If any of you ever visit Austin, let me know. I will tell you every cool place in town. And there are still little pockets of cool. Yeah. But definitely the music scene is amazing. We have everybody wants to play in Austin. So it is the best place to see shows. Yeah. And
how has kind of your organizing work, right, in the scene kind of changed as the digital tools have become much more
well, it's not
robust.
Just cutting and pasting flyers like I used to hear. I'm very good at doing the cut and paste collage style flyer.
The actual
cutting and pasting. And that is something you just don't do anymore. Yeah. Everything is done on computer, and I am terrible at computers. I use them, and actually I need to make some stickers for work, and I have a Linux at home and I can't figure out how to use it. And so it's made it worse. So I may go back to the old cutting and pasting just to make some things. And my last t-shirt design I made for my own shop, I got frustrated with doing it online, so I ended up just drawing it out and scanning it, and I think I'm better at that. I'm still too old school for that.
There's so much to be said for presence of the hand.
Yes,
right?
I'm too Gen X. I'm not. I can't.
I'm like
get
so Gen X.
I am so Gen X. I am the.
I love it.
I am the poster girl from Gen X. I really am.
It was art school. So art school was just kind of the thing that like.
I didn't finish it though.
But
I didn't learn much in there anyway.
You just thought like, I like to do this.
Sorry. Oh wait, I'm supposed to. No,
I
I learned a lot. Everyone go to SIU. Carbondale needs you.
Dear God, please.
No, I want SIU to do well because if not, Carbondale needs SIU. So I don't want to. So I should not say bad things about it. It's a great school. Buckminster Fuller. Yes. Remember that.
Well, that's part of the probably the filtration of how just punk in general made its way to Carbondale.
Oh,
in the early years was thanks to.
Yes, if it weren't for having a university here, Carbondale would probably be DuQuoin or Heron, or it would be
neighboring town.
A neighboring town. That is what made Carbondale. You have to have the university there.
Yeah.
Austin's the same way. It was a college town, but it turned into a big city. But you need to have the college because it brings in new people every year. It brings interesting people. It's very healthy for this town to have the university. So I want SIU to succeed. And every time I hear about budget cuts and things, I groan all the way in Texas. I'm groaning.
But I imagine there's all sorts of stuff that you look at in Texas and you're like, like why?
Yes. Yeah. But I want Carbondale to do well. I really do.
Yeah. This is cool. Like that's part of what kind of this tool is. Like the show is fun and like it's neat to do and whatever. But like there's a pointed purpose here, right? Yes. Of like connecting people, of like showing the like broader net cast of like the big picture Carbondale story, right? Yes. And there's always the want to succeed, the interest to return, right? The acknowledgement that this place is where you were able to engage first in the skills that people now use across the world, right? Wherever it may be. Yours just happens to be organizing people and things. Yes, together.
I am good at that. That is one of my super skills. Organizing people and things. Yes.
And that's how you save Lost Cross.
Yes. I did save Lost Cross. I am saying be shy that. About it. Sorry.
Say it out. I mean, does everybody know it?
I hope so. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the only one.
No,
there were a lot of people in a long line before and after.
But there's something to be said about being house mom.
But I was definitely house mom. But yeah, so Lost Cross. So actually, I came to Lost Cross a little late because. Well, first of all, there were other houses that were much more popular. Of course, House of Voodoo. Everybody knows House of Voodoo. That was that was the legendary Carbondale house. Yeah. And so I don't even know why it ended. I'm not sure. That's somebody else's interview.
That's fair. That's fair. Just about the same as every other house in Carbondale. Structural integrity.
There's been a lot of houses, and I think it just after a while it peters out. Somebody has to take charge and keep it going. Yeah. And so usually what happens is somebody gets married or they move on or get a job or something, and they have to go be lame and so it's hard doing a party house. In fact, I used to say it's like dog years living in a party house. It's 1 year is like 7 years. It really is. It feels that way.
That's not wrong.
So it's a hard life, and so you can only do it for a short period of time. So you need to pass it down to other people. And I first heard of Lost Cross. I was working at Rocksteady Records, and I met Mortimer Bustos and Mortimer, and so I came to Lost Cross a little later than most people. And Mortimer's like, hey, come to my house sometime. My name is Mortimer. I live on Elm Street. And I was thinking, like, Nightmare on Elm Street? Are you making this up? Is your name really Mortimer? And I live at a place called the Lost Cross, and I'm thinking, what? This sounds like you're making this weird persona of yourself. And it kind of was, but it's, yeah.
Well, it was also kind of the real persona, just the same.
Yes, it was his real persona, and it was great. And that was my introduction to Lost Cross House, was all Mortimer Bustos. And so then I started going to the parties there and hanging out. But at one point, it seemed to, like, it was John Collins and James Ricks were living there. And James, I think, was getting married maybe and going to move away or something. And so then there was a room open. John needed a roommate. And so James mentioned it to me. And it's like, oh, live at Lost Cross. Oh, my God. Yes, because I kind of looked up to Lost Cross as this party place because I was trying to have my own parties at this other house in Cherryport, and I was failing miserably in a lot of ways, and I don't even want to talk about it. But
it's okay. You're allowed to fail to get to your successes.
Yes. So I had some bad parties there, but as soon as I found out that there was an opening to live at Lost Cross, I immediately jumped on it. Yeah. I spent 2 seconds thinking about it. And it's like, yes, we're doing this. And I think it had been a while since they had any shows there. Mm-hmm. Now, this was Nitro Junior days when I moved in, mm-hmm. and before Bottle Tones. And
so that's what I love about, like, you can tell the era of the house based on the band. Like the premier band of the, yeah.
Well, there was Captain Rock in the Bottle Tones with Mortimer singing, but that was a different incarnation than the current Bottle Tones. Uh-huh. But we're in the middle of Nitro Junior, and so but they hadn't really had any shows in a while, and I don't know. I felt like it was kind of becoming like the other houses where it just wasn't really doing as many shows, even though it was still a practice space. Mm-hmm. But I said, I'm going to make this a big party house again once I moved in. And I remember my very first party, and I put so much effort into it. I told every single person I knew about it. And, oh, wait, the first party, I lied. Bottle Tones were playing, sorry, because I think they played there. Unless my memory's failing me, I don't know.
We'll fact check that momentarily.
Yeah, I think it was about no, maybe. Well, I remember Rockin' Billy were playing there, this other Rockabilly band. So I'm pretty sure the Bottle Tones were playing there. And I just remember I had this one party, and it was massive. Like, I still have photographs of the backyard where it's just filled with people. There were so many people that this guy, Andrew Robertson, also rest in peace, he was one of the bagel men at the time, and he brought the bagel cart to the Lost Cross backyard.
You guys like, we've made it.
On my first party.
We've made it. The bagel man showed up for the party. We're here.
Yes. And it was amazing. And it was like, yes, because I feel like if I would have started it out with just a tiny party, it just wouldn't have been as good. It needed to be massive, and it was. And so so it started out with a bang, but then also besides that, we had lots of other parties, and I remember I said, I'm going to try to brand this, kind of like how Mikey Snot does this MSIG and that. And I was like, we need to brand Lost Cross and start putting Lost Cross on all the flyers, just put the symbol. And actually, I'm the reason for the symbol. I want to tell the world that, the symbol, the cross with the LOST, that was me. I was inspired by my friend Jacob Tate, who also moved to Austin. Because they just funnel us to Texas.
It's like retirement for punks.
It is. It is retirement for punks. You go to Austin. And there's been a lot of people. It's surprising. But my friend Jacob Tate, he worked at the record store with Brady Campbell. And I ordered something, and they always send you these little cards in the mail saying, your order of blah, blah, blah CD is in, or tape or whatever. And so he made this little doodle for next to Lost Cross House, and I took his doodle and then I turned it into that Lost Cross symbol. And so I started putting that on the bottom of every flyer, and then I got a radio show at WDBX.
So there's DBX and WIDB.
No, I DJ'd at both of them.
Okay,
yeah.
nice.
I was terrible.
Nice.
I don't want to count the IDB.
That's
I was
okay.
terrible. But I was better at DBX. I had my own show, so I called it the Lost Cross Show, and I used that little symbol. And anything basically to do with the house, I put that on there because I was like, I got to brand this and turn it into a thing. I don't know why. I just felt like it was. I was bored. It was something to do.
Brand, right?
Yes. One time, a couple years ago, I was working at my shop in Austin, and a guy from Kentucky, from a band called Wrecked, came in, and we were talking, and he said I think he was from Kentucky or Tennessee, and I said, oh, I'm from Illinois, and then somehow I mentioned Carbondale, and I said, have you ever heard of a house called Lost Cross? And then he comes behind my counter, lifts up his pant leg, and he shows me a giant Lost Cross of that tattoo of that symbol. Just random person that I just ran into in Austin who was on tour there, and he shows me this tattoo of this thing that I made up. It was like, I can't believe this.
I've watched friends get stick poke tattoos.
Wow.
Of the Lost Cross.
Wow.
Brand on their bodies on Elm Street. Yeah. This may have been 5 years ago during Lost Cross 30.
Oh my god!
Or it may have just been some night. I don't know. But
I love it. I love it.
How many people do you think?
I've heard quite a few have them.
It's a lot.
I've heard quite a few do.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
I love it. It makes me very happy to know that I help be part of something that is still going, and
you're on
they feel good
bodies.
enough to tattoo that forever.
Like people still to this day.
I for a while I thought, would anyone even wear a T-shirt of that or a patch? But to put it on a tattoo, that's amazing.
There are people
I love it.
that weren't born when you drew that symbol.
I know.
that have that symbol on their bodies forever.
I know. I love it. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
It's a special kind of influence that you have, Cassandra. It really is, though, right? Like some people measure their influence in like the amount of their capacity to get other people to do their bidding or to do something that they ask them to do or to just commit an action themselves, right? But yours is like just this passive influence that your persona lives through, like this just common thread. Oh my God, I'm so glad we get to have this conversation.
Yeah, my superpowers. I'm good at bringing people together, introducing the right people together, and I'm good at like pushing other things because I feel like I'm not very good at certain things. Yeah. But like at any specific thing, like being in a band or whatever. But I'm good at pushing other people's bands and pushing the scene. Yeah. So
it needs that. Like that's a requirement. It needs
to have somebody do that.
And you don't if everybody's trying to do that, the scene becomes this center of conflict, right? But if you have one person that doesn't threaten the scene around them because they're not the talent, right?
Exactly. I was never the talent. I'm I'm like the manager, the behind the scenes person pushing it. But but I think that is one of the reasons why Lost Cross is still going as opposed to these other houses, and I do feel like putting like a little symbol and branding it and calling everything Lost Cross Productions. I started writing that Lost Cross Productions and things and just made it into something a little bit more. Yeah. So then it's stuck around. And also, once I did move, I was very picky about who took over. I didn't want it to just go to anybody. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I didn't get my wish at first because I really wanted Adam Fletcher to go and take over, but he was too young to live on his own. He was still in high school, I believe. And sorry, I'm old. But I thought, oh man, too bad he's not old enough because he would be the perfect person to take over this Lost Cross legacy, and then now look at
Yeah,
him. Look
here we
at
are,
him.
right?
Look at him.
little old Adam Fletcher.
Little
Look
Adam.
at what he's grown up to
Yay.
do.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love him.
Warmy.
Oh, and when I moved, I gave him all my old zines because remember the '90s,
Yeah,
you didn't
absolutely.
have web pages,
Stacks
you
of
had zines.
them, yeah.
I gave stacks of zines and things.
So you're also
and
part of like why he's really into like the
I
history
hope I had
thing, like
some
the
good
collecting
influence.
aspects.
I hope I had some good influence.
You weren't
over
just
him.
house mom. You were Adam Fletcher's mom.
I do. Yes, I was definitely house mom. Definitely.
Like,
yes.
oh
yes.
my gosh.
Yes. I am a very motherly figure, and the scene was my child at
Yeah.
the time. So.
Well, and like
Yes.
I mean, just like the Gwen carving at PK's, right? Like all
Oh
my
yes,
children.
yes,
Right?
yes.
It's a very Gwen.
That's right.
Thing.
Yes, yeah. I do kind of think of everybody. People I haven't met yet. Those are my children. They're my grandchildren.
They don't know it yet.
They don't know it, but yes, yes.
Have you had any of these interactions yet where like you engage with somebody and maybe they don't quite know yet, but they're talking about it, and so they start talking about it. You recognize where they're at, you start kind of following along the line of conversation, then you start to kind of chime in with things about your influence over this that is kind of the leader to their experience decades later. Have you had that
Not
experience
too much.
yet?
I mean, the guy from Wrecked who didn't even live in Carbondale, who just visited Lost Cross and decided to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
But otherwise, just because whenever I visit, I haven't met too many of the new people who have been in the scene and live there. So so I haven't run across that much, but that's only because I'm not here, I think, Otherwise, I probably would chime in and say, hey, this and this. Although I did bond with Anya, who lived at Lost Cross, right? And she was there when the last time I was in Carbondale was when the Bottle Tones played at Sunset Concerts, and we talked her into having a little get together, and all the old crew showed up there. It was wonderful and old times, and I really did bond with her. She's a wonderful person.
Well, you were talking about just like to have just a dash of femininity attached to the dude bro house.
Yes. Nothing against guys. I love it. But it does help to have a girl around every now and then to kind of break it up a little.
I mean, when you get to the point where like the bathroom is impassable.
Yeah.
Right.
Although,
it's like somebody care a little bit more about your hygiene, please.
I do have to say, when I lived there, we had the clawfoot tub because after I left, Billy Bollinger renovated the house and redid the bathroom, and we had the clawfoot bathtub, which was beautiful, but there was a hole in the floor about this big, and you could look down into the basement, and I was always scared that bathtub was going to fall through the floor. But I'm handy in some ways, but I'm not good at building floors and drywall and things, so thank you, Billy Bollinger, for helping with all that. So but the house was always dirty when I was living there, but I felt like the entire time I lived there, all I did was clean.
Yeah.
I was just going around picking up after people nonstop. And every time I see photographs, it looks messy, and I'm thinking, how did it get so messy? I used to clean
so hard on
I used
this.
to clean constantly there. And also when I lived with John Collins.
Did you get help with like maintaining the house? Did you?
No.
Okay.
No. When I was living,
that was so point. It was like a no bullshit like. No, I didn't get help with the house. Are you shitting me?
I have to say there were even people who, I'm not going to name names, were smoking.
But you know who you are.
You know who you are. Sorry. Who would smoke cigarettes, and the ashtray was within arm's reach and would still just ash on the floor instead of in the ashtray. Thanks. But yeah, I remember. You know who you are. But when I lived with John Collins from Nitro Jr., we had a deal. He would clean the bathroom, and I would clean the rest of the house, which was actually perfect for me.
I feel like that's
even.
Yeah, because the bathroom.
Yeah, especially after a party. Oh yeah, yes. And it wasn't even just the big parties that we had with the touring bands and all that. We also had. Oh, by the way, to get touring bands, I went to Maximum Rock and Roll. Used to have this zine called "Book Your Own Fucking Life," and you would basically put little classified ads in there. So you put a little ad for the house and things like that, and so then we get random bands calling up and saying, "Hey, I saw your ad in Book Your Own Fucking Life. I want to play here," and that's how we got them. But also, besides those shows, we also had lots of little jam sessions, a lot of artsy-fartsy things when I was living there. It was a little different, and I had the goth influence, and my friend Craig Wilson would come over, and he from Nuclear Winter, and he would do lots of little artsy projects, and we'd have little jam sessions in the basement and little experimental music parties, and then also we were in a neo-folk band called Bloom, and I remember we had this big super gothy neo-folk party where Bloom played in the basement, and it was all candle lit, and we were super artsy at the beginning. I remember I smashed up a globe with an axe beforehand, and it was all, kind of pretentious, but it was also kind of neat and gothy, and it was living my weird gothy dreams back then.
So it's not exactly goth, but it is definitely something that I think you would be interested in. Adam Turrell.
I know him.
Oh yeah, so the Board Game Labor Museum that he and his partner, I want to say Trish, but I don't also want to get her name wrong, but oh well, it's in recording now. Yeah. Have made, and it's just like
I've heard about it.
Oh, it's so I want to eventually do a piece on it, but it's just like that type of experiential, like modification of space kind of activity, right?
Yes. Yeah, when I was at the Lost Cross, I did feel like it was more like an art jam space than just a party space. It wasn't just about the touring bands, although that was also a big part of it. But I'd say a few times a week there was always some sort of happening going on over there. It is sort of like in the 60s when they say it's a happening. It was very similar.
Something's happening here.
Yes.
What it is ain't exactly, and my God, not clear. Then,
but we'd have.
Oh, that was the AC.
I gave. There would always be some crazy art show or something. Not art show, but like artsy performance. I mean, a lot of these weren't even official things. Yeah. They were just us hanging out, and it would turn into it. Like one day, I don't know, everybody ended up spray painting themselves from head to toe with silver spray paint. And so a lot of the silver spray paint that's in the basement is still from that party.
Wow.
I still see bits of it in there, like on some of the pillars. I don't know what happened.
That's why Greg it needs marked as a historical preservation site.
That's right. But we did, it was just it was fun. It was just always something there. People would show up on my doorstep who I didn't even know, and it seemed like half the town had a key to the house, so I didn't really have any privacy. People would show up, but it also was a lot. It was a lot having, there was always something happening there. So
sorry, I keep track of the phone.
That's
I just
okay.
keep thinking
it's okay.
He's here. I just gotta make sure that he's getting okay. So I'm gonna throw something out to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna run away and let you tell a story without me here for just a moment.
Okay.
The grossest thing that has ever happened that you have seen at Lost Cross.
Okay.
That you're like, oh God, that awful story.
Okay.
And I'll be back.
It's not going to be very long.
Perfect. It'll only be 30 seconds before I'm back.
Okay. The grossest thing was probably the basement used to flood, and when I say flood, it would flood 4 feet. And it looked like a river like a whitewater river in the backyard, and it would flood 4 feet tall. And one time my friend Mortimer helped clean up after the waters went away, and he said there's 7 different types of nasty smells in here, and that was horrible. And then one time it flooded, and I hadn't been home for days, and everything grew mold on it upstairs. That was pretty disgusting. Well,
see, I hated that story off now so that I wouldn't have to worry about just hop on the stool, man. You're in.
But to bring things back, one time it was flooding when.
That's it. That's
Oh,
it.
we did.
Yeah, nice, man.
It's nice having people, isn't it?
It is. I don't know if she knew that her people got a
Yeah,
hold
my
of my
people got a hold of his
but
people.
we did this whole thing in just a
That's
few
right.
hours. It was really good how
Black and
interesting
blue.
for us.
Well, one
Did
time.
the day sheet?
What?
My day sheet was a little off.
Scoot
I
a
got
little
here
bit.
late.
Yeah,
Scoot
so
a little
was
bit to your
mine.
right if you would, Brady, and then I'm going to. All right, cool. I'll bring this in.
Hi.
Kind of get you guys.
Oh.
Shusha. All the love. All the love. I'm really. This is just kind of a cool break in. I appreciate you guys wanting to work with like a little kind of artistic thought on how to kind of bring this.
I should have brought
Did
beer.
you bring presents?
See, I didn't. I thought for sure you would bring beer.
I didn't know the
I have
situation.
2 warm beers.
Oh.
Which one do you want? Have this one. It's easier. Do you have?
Oh, Oktoberfest. Yes.
Do I have a bottle opener?
Yeah, very
I
important.
don't, but I have really sturdy keys.
Keys will
There's
work.
I
a
was carrying mine around all the time.
here
Until now.
sturdy key. Would that be? Is that priable?
I almost brought
There's-
wine
there's a
with me,
chance here.
but then I didn't know, so I
That's-
glugged a glass of wine before I came here.
So close.
'Cause-
So close.
Be like James and open it with your teeth, or not.
So anyway, to start.
Well, I want to say this on camera. One time, the basement was flooding, and Jesus Christ Superfly were supposed to play, and we moved the party across the street, and somehow the people there did not want to have. They wanted to have their own bands and not Jesus Christ Superfly, so they didn't get to play that last time at the Cross when I was there. But now they get to play the Cross party. So there, it all comes around, and they live in Austin too.
More Austin. More
Because
Austin.
that's where we're at.
Any luck, Brady? You're like belt buckle. Belt
I had
buckle's the
a
next
bottle
step.
opener in my bag the whole time, and then I
whole
set it
time?
aside.
The whole time.
As
The
in the
entire
last
time.
few days.
The
The
entire
last
time.
few days.
I know I've got here. Just you guys sit down and talk. I've got a church key here. Let me go get it. You guys.
I
just
had a
talk
church
If
key
on
the last
camera,
few days, and it just
If
disappeared.
there's, what are we talking about?
Whatever you want to. It's your podcast now, guys.
Well, now
I don't know.
There we go. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I should have some water after this.
Oh, there's no water. We don't even get to see ourselves.
No, I don't want to see myself. I'm not going to watch this.
I gotta see how high the hair can get.
Need to let it grow longer.
What's that?
Need to let it grow longer.
Well, we did, and then
Yeah.
last time, my wife's been doing a wonderful job of cutting it.
Aw.
The whole COVID
Is she
time.
here?
No, she's at home. She's still not feeling very well.
Oh,
But
crap.
yeah, she's cutting it the whole time, doing a great job, like a great job.
Yeah.
This last time we were in a hurry, and she didn't put the
Yay.
she didn't put the guard on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
On the razor.
Oh,
and just
no.
Went, zzz,
Oh,
And so
no.
I was going short no matter what, you know.
I had the haircut at one point this
Yeah,
year.
so we just
All down to nothing. Yeah, it wasn't a good look
and,
for me.
Yeah, and this was about 5 or 6 inches long at one point, and it was just too much. We just hacked it all off.
Okay.
Once that happened, because there was no returning. Like
Yeah.
she just the noise that she made was just like,
Ah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I've cut my own hair for the last few years. I miss having Paul Cook around. He used to cut my hair. He's the best hair cutter.
Paul Cook, lead singer of the Bottle Tones,
Yes.
and just extraordinary human.
Who played the
He
first
can do
show?
everything. He's like, he can do anything.
He can't.
Yeah, did they
he
play
used to
the
cut
first?
everybody's hair in Carbondale, I think, at one point.
Yes.
If you were in the music scene in
I
Carbondale,
dyed everyone's hair and
cut-
he cut their
he
hair.
cut your hair. It was
Yeah, we had we had a little hair salon in Lost Cross for a
Yeah,
while.
I have multiple pictures of getting my hair cut by
It's
Paul
true.
over the years. My hair would be like this long in front, and then we'd use Murray's pomade to for the bottle tone stuff. And anyway, And I had the flat top for a long time too in Nitro, and he did the flat top.
He did the flat top too.
Yeah, like weekly, he would cut my hair for the flat top.
And
that was high and tight, like a flat top, not like we do these days. Like
he did a lot of people's hair, but yeah, he would cut and I would dye.
Yeah.
We had
She
our
was
little
the
station.
dye master. Well, you ended up being the dye center of Illinois for a while.
I was. Oh my God, that kitchen sink. I'm surprised it's not rainbow colored now with all the freaking hair dye there.
No, it became a color.
Yeah.
I'm just soaking in watching Friends.
Was the
with,
Bottle
like-
Tones the first? They played with Rockin' Billy at that early party
Cross.
that I played when I
we
lived
played
there.
at the Cross quite a few times.
Yeah.
We practiced. So the Bottle Tones practiced at the Cross for years. So the Bottle Tones, the concept of the Bottle Tones happened on the porch of Lost Cross. Chris McAtee, Mortimer Bustos, John Collins went down to Memphis. There were a whole bunch of them went, but those three went and saw little Charlie in the Nightcats on Beale Street and came back and said, "Well, we can fucking do that. Let's start a rockabilly band." And
it was it was Captain Rock.
Captain Rock. That
and
was
the Bottle Tones.
Morty was Captain Rock, and the Bottle Tones were the backing band, and they all had Bottle Tones names. So of course, Morty was Captain Rock, and then John was Ace, and I don't remember what Chris McAtee's. I don't remember. Shannon was Lusk was Hooch. Blanche Bottle Tone. The two singers. It was quite something, and so as then Mortimer and Chris moved to Chicago with Action Man to become rock stars, and
that inspired a pretty good chuckle, Cassandra.
No, I love
It's a
it.
true
No,
story.
I know. I remember this.
they lived right.
I love Mortimer. I told you.
They
I know.
moved to Chicago
That's my
right when
vibe.
that part of Chicago was like the part you heard stories about, right by the double door, and bless their hearts. There's a whole nother podcast that can go on just about Chris McAtee and Mortimer Bustos
Yes.
and Paula Rollinson. And
Well,
Yes.
then I will do when I do eventually Mortimer's podcast. I'll drag him in here.
I was just gonna say, to me personally, everybody has their, especially when it comes to Lost Cross, their person who they identify the cross with, and
Yeah.
me, it's Mortimer.
So how
It's
did
always
you?
Mortimer.
What do you guys remember? Kind of your first.
Well, I met him when he played in Nitro Junior. I
Okay.
went to see them, and the first time I saw them, I think you were playing somewhere in SIU, and then James sat down next to me, and I started eating my food, or I don't remember. It was like people had food is all I remember,
Yeah.
and it was like in the back of some building. I don't know. And then James just, you know how James just gets in your face and just is James. So I met James Ricks, and then that's how I met you guys. It was all through
it was
James.
all kind of it
at
almost
your
seemed
show.
like it was really
Yeah.
predetermined. Like it doesn't seem like we ever really had a choice.
Yeah, I don't remember the
Like-
very
like
first
when-
time I had ever
when
talked to
you
you.
encountered a certain part
Yeah.
of the music scene or the Lost Cross
Yeah.
clique or whatever, you were kind of just assigned. Like, oh, you're like them.
Yeah.
And that's who you just kind of, and it just kind of worked out that way, and then that's what you did. You didn't kind of question it, and it was just kind of a thing, like you were Lost Cross, or you were Romex, or you were, or you were Voodoo, it depended, but
You were Sharks.
right, yeah, exactly. That's how it was. We were all in the same neighborhood.
Except everyone had different bands.
Yeah,
Instead of
we all
fighting,
had
you
the
just
same-
had
And the
different
only
bands.
people that ruled the street corner were Stephen Pegg Falcone.
That's right.
But all those kids had to go, all those Sharks, and they all had to go to school together during the day.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious, dude. But yeah, the houses, all the different houses. It's all very kind of like a Game of Thrones too, with all the different houses over the years.
Yeah.
Lost Cross being the least nice of all of them.
and how the hell it managed to be like the thing with staying
Perseverance.
Yeah.
I think location.
Oh,
Even-
yes, it had an amazing location.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what? I mean, what was it
That's
like?
true.
I mean, what did the location allow you to do?
Well, it's a block away from the Strip.
Yeah.
So right there. It's
Right,
just,
and it's far
in
enough
the-
away from the bars and yet close to the Strip.
Yeah.
The church means, right across the street, means we have to behave ourselves to a certain extent.
Yeah.
There are neighbors, property owners around that you have
Yeah.
to certainly respect.
Falcones.
Yeah.
They were. I didn't know them very well, but
I went to high school with Ben and
Oh, okay.
Flynn.
they were always nice.
Yeah,
They were
great.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just didn't.
Yeah, we never had
Know them
any
personally.
interaction because,
You were never bad enough to.
Yeah.
No, I don't think ever. There were instances, but nothing that the house did.
No.
Yeah.
And something else that I remembered is at the time in the 90s, I felt like the city was trying to shut down party houses,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why everyone named their houses for
Yeah.
starters, so that you didn't have to put the address on
Ah,
the flyer. You
okay,
could put
alright.
House of Voodoo,
Yes. And
House
that was
of
also
Romex, House.
kegs were rampant, and there were
Yeah.
more kegs at parties. So
Yes.
even not just the band houses
Yeah.
like we're talking about, like Romex and the Cross and
Yeah.
stuff. All of the houses had names because
Yeah.
that's what you put on the flyers. Just the kegger houses did that same thing.
Yeah.
Just
True.
that was a different entity. Just the guys who sold cups, in their basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those were good basements too.
Oh, I had some amazing times at some of those houses.
Yeah.
I can tell you there was this
Yeah.
one on Freeman.
I mean, yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know the name of it, but some crazy stories from my youth. But when I lived at the Cross, I remember going to the library and I looked up all of the Carbondale city laws about parties and made sure that we weren't breaking any of the laws,
Well, yeah.
because they were trying their best to shut it down. So I was like, okay, you can't do this. And then they would call Aaron Noth, he did a zine called The Yard Nazis, but it's the code department, and they would come around.
Sorry. The
And the code enforcement would come around the next day once they knew, oh, Lost Cross is this party house, and they would check, and if there was one beer can in the yard, they would try to give a ticket. So I remember at quite a few parties going around and telling everybody we have to clean up every single can
Yeah.
and bottle and throw it away. And then we made it so no one stood on the sidewalk outside, because that was breaking a rule.
Yeah.
And so after, but now it's great because the city's letting them close off the street.
Yeah.
And a few years ago when you did that, I thought that was amazing. And it's like, wow, we had to go and hide it and do all these little tricks to make it legal, and now
the city manager
wow, the
literally
city
has
is
a Lost
letting it
Cross
be a
poster
festival. I
in
love
his
it.
office.
This is
Right, as a
amazing.
reminder.
I love it. I love it.
It's.
I'm glad this is happening.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's that then it keeps happening and keeps
Good.
happening and keeps happening.
Good.
Is amazing. It's truly
Good. Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, we fight the hard fight.
Yeah, it wasn't. I
wasn't
I still don't think like anybody. We
Wasn't
didn't
that
win
bad.
the war. Just like we've
No.
come to a truce finally.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
finally said, okay, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like you just want to drink beer and play some music.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much
that's
it.
Really, that's
That's
really,
really
all
it.
that happened. The worst I've seen, maybe, and some weed.
Weed,
The
Which is now legal here, apparently.
right. So now
Yeah.
that's legal. Fuck.
Oh yeah, you guys live in Texas where
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yes.
I literally work in the cannabis industry, so it's like I'm living my best life.
Texas has too much money as a state. It needs to be a little bit more poorer
Yeah,
for them
yeah, right,
to
right.
make
Smoke,
it legal.
smoke wells, not
will
grass.
happen.
That's
Yeah.
It's coming. It's
It'll
too profitable.
happen.
Yeah.
It's too
Oklahoma's made it legal. It's gonna
yeah. If
happen.
Oklahoma's done it,
Texas
yeah.
makes too much money off their alcohol industry
Yes.
to not go for the weed.
Yeah.
There's just too much money on the table.
Yeah.
And
It'll
the roads
happen.
need
It'll
fixing. I mean, that money needs, it's coming up soon. So, and the electrical
Every road-
grid, if you didn't notice either.
Yes.
So did you guys? I mean, you guys lived through the recent power
Oh
outages.
yes,
Really?
we did.
What I mean, what was that?
It was horribly traumatic, and oh my God, everybody has PTSD in Texas right now, because it wasn't just Austin; it was the entire state.
Yeah.
The electric company shut off our power. Luckily, I still had natural gas, so I had the stove running, and I still had running water. But the water was not potable. You couldn't drink the water for 2 weeks.
Because they couldn't process
And-
it, because the plants
Yeah.
couldn't.
We didn't
You
have,
didn't have water?
We didn't have water for 4 days. And
Yeah.
that was rough. So we got real lucky. My wife has these giant bottles, like the 5-gallon jugs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she has the fancy water, the Mountain Spring in the glass, the good stuff. It's good. It is good water, man. It is. And
That's the most punk rock thing anybody's going to say all weekend long. I like the good water. Yeah.
good stuff. And but we had 5 of those on hand, so we had 25 gallons of drinkable
excellent.
water.
Okay.
So that saved us. And then,
Okay.
You guys might as
Okay.
well have been living in a castle.
At that point, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I believe that.
Yeah,
Yes.
for flushing the toilets, we were using snow from outside and putting it in the bathtub and then letting it melt, and then that was what we used to flush the toilets. And then the power, we didn't have any power for 7 days. No water for 4, no power for 7.
Oh,
And
wow.
the 7, the neighbor had a generator, and he would run us one line, just like that little extension cord there, and we would get that, and he would turn it on from 11 at night until the fuel ran out, and that would always be between 4 and 5 in the morning. So we would put our heaters on in our bedroom and have a heater on from 11 until like 4:30 in the morning, and and you know, it was 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 9 degrees every day for like 5 days, you know, and it was
Climate
crazy.
change.
Yeah.
I
It was intense.
can't believe that after that experience, the whole state didn't revolt. That's unreal. to me.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
agree.
yes, it is unbelievable.
It
Yes.
was crazy times, and also because we're from the north, that type of snow here.
King of the North.
you
Sorry,
wouldn't-
we were talking about Game of Thrones earlier.
Yeah, right.
The-
But
the-
yeah,
the
you
nine-
wouldn't- here
the
you
9 or
wouldn't think
10
anything of it.
Yeah, 9 or 10 inches of snow. I was like, this wouldn't even stop to like us going to the mall.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here, every single thing
Yeah,
is shut
but-
down. And the fact that some people didn't have natural gas and no
Yeah.
electricity and no water. And
I mean, people
It's
legitimately
like, where
died
are
because
we?
of this.
Yeah, hundreds of people died, if not thousands.
yeah,
Yeah.
Another one of those things that we'll just never know.
we
'Cause-
might get another one at the end of January, maybe.
Yep. Good
Could
times.
happen. It could.
Sorry,
happen.
guys. I mean to bring down the
Generator
whole,
sales
okay.
are going up in Texas.
I've
is all I'm
got
saying.
a gas generator and a generator in my garage.
Like, no, we're not messing around
I
anymore.
have 2 badass generators, man.
I did buy an Alex Jones Berkey water filter, so I had the
Yeah.
best water.
Yeah,
No.
I'm set up
Yeah.
a water
Like-
situation too.
Like they're making the frog, like Alex Jones, like that Alex Jones?
he would
Like,
advertise it on his
Eat
show.
my
for
protein powder.
yes,
You're not gonna tell me
exactly.
you're an InfoWars person now. You're not gonna like take all of this and just ruin a really good conversation. We've really clicked on a lot of levels, and you just took it and said, "Fuck it."
I gotta throw in something.
Hey,
about
if you
the-
had dead mussels living in your water supply,
Yeah, lots of them, lots
and
of them.
happening,
You would buy
and
from
where you
Alex
couldn't-
Jones too.
You would
All right,
buy
all
it
right.
too.
It's survivalism. No,
He
sorry.
lives in Austin
Oh,
too.
back to
He's
the
been
good
through it.
water.
Oh my God.
I got a good water story. I gotta give
Okay,
these guys
water.
Mountain Springs,
Yes.
man. You know, it's available at all of the stores. These people actually delivered us 5 bottles of water on our regular scheduled day before we had power back on. It was
Yes.
like I was like,
Oh,
what
good
the
for you,
fuck are
Mountain
you
Springs.
doing here? Yeah, Mountain Valley
Amazing.
Spring or whatever. Yeah, Mountain Valley. It was like
Yeah.
It was really cool. Like, cause we were down to the last bottle. You know, we were
Like,
you
what are we
know,
gonna do?
right.
Hey, we're gonna have to pick off one of the kids next.
I finally was able to get out of the house.
Amazing.
This is before I had my filter, and I found one thing of Fiji water that was like $1,000 for a case of at the Mexican grocery store. I'm like, I don't care. This water is terrible, but I am buying it, and it cost way too much. And it's environmentally incorrect, but it was water.
All right.
You know.
Well, this is
Fresh water is a big deal.
This is
Everyone needs it.
This is where I'm going to jump out here for this podcast, which feels like a big deal. The 93rd episode of the WTF Carbondale podcast. Stay tuned for episode 94. I don't usually give a lead in, but we're just going to make that one happen right now. Have a good one, folks. Whatever that one may